Vineyard in the South Willamette Valley of Oregon, where my husband and I grow Pinot Noir grapes, a very moody, temperamental, thin-skinned grape, but when treated gently, can become a very delicate, fine wine. And the vineyard has taught us a lot about living a balanced life. Now, by balanced, I mean living in harmony with the soil, the farm, and the family that is our community. Whether you live in the country or in the city, whether you grow tomatoes on your porch or herbs in your kitchen, the balance in your life depends on the health of a cow. Now, by balance, I mean from the ground up. The first 7.5 inches of soil, it's the skin of the earth, the foundation of all life. Without that 7.5 inches, nothing grows. Not people, not plants, not cows, nothing. We learned early on that in order to have a healthy vineyard, we need a healthy soil. And our experience has taught us that in one tiny teaspoon of a healthy soil, it's about a gram, there exists over 1 billion living creatures, covering about 1 million different species. Now, these are protozoa and fungi and bacteria and worms and spiders and mites. And all of these little creatures have to eat. They have to breathe. They have to poop, just like any other organism. Let me put it in perspective for you. If I were to scoop up all of those living organisms in 1 acre of healthy soil, those living organisms would equal the weight of a cow. Now, in our vineyard, we have 70 acres. And that means we have a herd of 70 cows grazing underneath our grapes. That's pretty impressive, because you have to feed this cow, and we have to feed that herd. And we've got to make sure that it has all the right nutrients and all the right oxygen and minerals in order to keep our cow happy and healthy. And you can see unhealthy soil and very unhappy cows when you drive by a field and you see this field is yellow and pale and hard and dry. And every now and then there are these little pieces of grass growing out of it. Even above ground cows will not eat that. If you force them to, they'll start staggering and they may even fall over. It's like Memoir's disease. And the cause of that is lack of potassium in the soil. Another way to tell an unhealthy soil is on those muddy, rainy days. We got a lot of those in Oregon. And when you walk through the mud, that mud just glues to your boot. It glamps right onto the boot. You can't shake it off. It's gooey, it's sticky. And it sticks to the hooves of sheep and horses. Well, that's your soil telling you that your magnesium and calcium are off balance. Add a little more calcium to your soil and it'll turn soft. Simple. Another really important factor in a healthy soil is your pH factor. Just like Daisy here cannot eat a full bale of hay all at once in one mouthful. The same is true for anything you grow. It has to be broken down into bite-sized pieces. With a pH of about 6 or so, those clunky compounds are broken down into micronutrients. So the soil delivers to the plant those micronutrients in sizes that the plant can absorb. Now, with a lower pH, you could fertilize your cows day and night until the cows come home, but they're starving because they can't eat those big clunky compounds. You have to break them down into bite-sized pieces with the right pH. And you've got to feed your cow the right kind of food. We don't put synthetic foods into our vineyard. We want to make sure that everything that goes into that vineyard is healthy. So that goes with our fertilizers as well. One year my husband, Robin, fertilized with fish emulsion. Another year, we laid down lime. And during the winter time, we opened up the gates and we let all the critters come in. So we get all the deer and the elk and the cougars and the bears and the skunks and the raccoons and the badgers, and they fertilize the vineyard all winter long. We understand that you can't take anything out without putting something back. And nothing is wasted. There are some biodynamic traditions that suggest that if you put a cow's udder or a sheep's horn into the soil, that it will actually improve the soil. And some people really swear by that. For us, we compost. We put back the seeds and the stems and the vine clippings right back into the soil and have it all composted in every year. Again, nothing is wasted. Because we understand that in order to have healthy soil, you then get a healthy body. And I mean that very literally, that the ratio of minerals and vitamins in the soil, such as potassium and calcium and phosphorus and all the rest of it, is exactly equivalent to the requirements of a healthy human. And you don't want to put any poisons in your body. That's why we don't use poison sprays. During the early part of a vineyard, before the grapes turn purple, there are these little green pellets, and their immune system is not yet developed to wash off and defend itself against mold and mildew. So one year, when we had a little mildew in the vineyard, my husband took liquid Dove soap and he put it into his water tank. And he went up and down the rows spraying his young crop with Dove Love. It was a bubble machine. There were bubbles all over Lane County spewing out of his tractor. But it worked. It washed off the mildew, and we didn't have any soap residue that vintage. It was a wonderful thing. And we find that we need to constantly be aware of what we're putting into our vineyard. Another miraculous connection is with the sun. Now, the sun turns its energy into glucose. Now, let me just have a few props here. Let's say the sun's rays are the workers, and the workers show up every morning and go to work in the factories, which are the leaves. In the leaves, the energy is converted into glucose, and the sugar is stored in the grapes.